Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings on planet Earth, wherever you may be. This is a review of the documentary by TMZ, I believe, which is called No BS, about Meghan and Harry. I've just watched it, thanks to the Royal Grift, so credit to her, and I have made quite a lot of notes. It's about an hour long. Lots of thoughts. Now, to begin with, it appeared to me to be a panel of people who were going to be 100% on Meghan's side, 100% on Harry's side. That's very much the way the first half of it goes. They use very misleading shots, things that have happened much later on in the story. They were depicting it as if that happened before the engagement was even announced, which is nonsense. It wasn't. And they had sort of, for happy moments, upbeat kind of clowny music, and for the more serious, poor Meghan, almost funereal incidental music. Now, as a creator, and Graham and I have been making films for years, you can depict and put across a message in many different ways. If you use incidental music, you can cut shots in a certain way, and that's how it came across to me at first. But it turned, actually, towards the end, where the panel began to become split on certain issues, and at certain points, downright the whole panel were against Meghan and Harry. So the panel themselves seemed to start off by, right, we've had our instructions, this has got to be positive about Meghan and Harry, they are the victims. And as they were all discussing, and it got quite animated at certain points, there were about, excuse me, I'm just going to cough. Excuse me. Sorry, Nan. I knew I wouldn't get through it. I think it's a bit of a nervous tick, actually. Yeah, as they got going through this journey, and I think there were about 6 of them, and they were all sort of talking over each other at certain points. And the editing was vicious, like you could hear someone was sort of saying, I think Harry and Meghan are a spoilt pair of cut. So the panel themselves, obviously during the discussion, must have realised the ludicrous things they had been asked to say. So I've made some notes. It started to unravel a little bit at the beginning when the subject of the engagement interview and Meghan saying she'd never Googled Harry. A couple of the panel members were like, do me a favour. And then some of the other sort of more super fans or more dedicated to the agenda of bigging up Meghan and Harry said, oh, well, she didn't mean that. Of course she knew who Prince Harry was. What she meant was she hadn't really Googled him. They were trying to soften the blow. And one lady on the panel actually said, I've never heard of Prince Harry until Meghan Markle got engaged to him, to which a lot of the other panel were like, oh, that's a stretch. So I was quite pleased to see that, so I can tick that one off my list. They said that the article straight out of Compton, now I don't read newspapers, generally speaking. I think I saw a programme where Rachel Johnson was the one who had said that. I'm not sure, so Rachel, forgive me if I've got that wrong. But I definitely saw Rachel on a programme talking about the article straight out of Compton. And I don't even know, what is Compton? I don't understand the phrase. But Rachel Johnson, for anyone who doesn't know, is the sister of a previous Prime Minister that we had, Boris Johnson. And although Boris is quite right-wing, Rachel comes across as a lot more liberal. She's actually sort of one of the wokey-cokey brigade. So very far thing from a racist. Not that I'm suggesting Boris is racist. There's been discussions in the press, and that's not what this video is all about. Now, yeah, they sort of cracked on that the press had been having a feeding frenzy, like piranhas all over Meghan. And being horribly racist. Now, I don't read newspapers, but I'm sure if that had been the case, I would have heard something about it. And I didn't. I didn't know who she was. He released a press statement before the engagement interview saying, back off, leave my girlfriend alone. that was all kind of weird. And I remember hearing about that and I thought, what girlfriend? What are you talking about? Now, they go on about the racism, but then the panel later on, they trashed the Markles. They called them white trailer trash. Whoa! After they've said, oh, Meghan had a very humble and noble beginning. She was in the gutter in poverty, fighting her way up. And then they go on to just trash Thomas Markle Sr. and Samantha Markle. I mean, trash. So I think, well, which is it? And I think that was a point at which some of the panel was starting to think, are we going this way or this way? We can't go both ways. So it really was starting to fall apart for them. The curtsy. The entire panel seemed to be in agreement that us Brits and our royal family and our traditions are stupid, basically stupid. Far too much pressure. A curtsy. Oh my God, she met the Queen and she had to curtsy. Oh my God, Harry, if I fuck this up, it'll be curtains, it's over. I'll be off to the Tower of London, I can't cope with all. So, right, let me just explain curtsies. I mean, people watch things like Downton Abbey, don't you? A curtsy is basically just a bob. That's a polite curtsy. This sort of back-breaking yoga thing that people talk about, where you have to contort yourself into a grovelling position and curtsy like this. Oh, your Royal Highness. Fuck off, that doesn't exist, all right? We're not that crazy in Britain. You put one foot behind the other and bend the knee. It's a quick curtsy. Fuck off, Meghan. I mean, really? The curtsy, the pressure, the curtsy, I just couldn't get over that. And this entire panel going, these Brits are crazy. Now, I do not judge our American cousins on this panel. Believe me. People are people. We're all human beings. And cultures are not that different. I would imagine a lot of Americans watching that going, what's the big deal with the curtsy? She couldn't learn God Save the Queen. Nobody taught her. Oh my God, nobody taught her. It's like a repetitive line, you know? God save our gracious Queen. God save the Queen. And it goes on, God save the Queen. Or now we have God save the King. It's like learning the lyrics to Happy Birthday, Meghan. Meghan, who, didn't she have a major in international business studies and is a woman of power who talks to the UN, can't learn the lyrics to Happy Birthday or God Save the Queen? And as for the curtsy, oh my God, the curtsy. Fuck off, she just makes shit up, which became apparent towards the end of the thing. Oh, they go on and on and on about Thomas Markle, Samantha Markle. They also said, oh, she was criticised for having a baby shower by us Brits because we don't do baby showers. Well, we don't. Well, maybe some people do, but it's not really, it's more of an American thing, isn't it? I don't think she was criticised for having a baby shower. I think she was criticised for flying over to a very expensive hotel, inviting a ton of celebrities, having a red carpet, inviting the world's press, and parading wealth in front of the struggling peasants. And I do seem to recall reading somewhere that she had ordered cakes or meringues or something from Paris to be flown to New York from a patisserie that I believe is called Marie Antoinette's. For anyone out there who doesn't know who Marie Antoinette was, she was the Queen of France, the last queen. They cut her head off because she was living in extravagant wealth. Well, I don't know if this story's true about Marie Antoinette, actually. There's various versions, but the well-known theory is that she was eating fabulous food, dressed up in diamonds, and the peasants were at the palace gates, rattling the gates, going, we're starving, we need bread and water. And she said, famously, let them eat cake, which the peasants found rather insulting, and they started chopping off aristos' heads and ultimately the royal family's heads. It was a very nasty, messy business. It's a part of monarchical history that fascinates people, but equally a lot of people, especially aristos and members of monarchies, are painfully aware to be sensitive with the peasants. So, flying over to America on a jet, save the planet, okay? and inviting a load of other multi-billionaire, millionaire ladies, and having the cakes flown over from Paris from Marie Antoinette's is a bit nose rubby in the peasant's face. I'm fucking loaded. Do you know what I mean? And also, she said on Oprah she didn't go anywhere. Her passport was taken. I didn't have my passport, I was just a prisoner. Really? So you didn't have the baby shower? She also didn't she go to Morocco? I think they went to Holland. I think they went to Italy. I mean, how did she do all that without a passport? I don't know, some people out there might know what a white passport is. I've heard of these white passports. I think people who have white passport are diplomatic immunity or something. Glinda the Good might know the answer to that question. Do you guys, is white passports an American thing or a British thing? But maybe that's what they did with Meghan. They said, give us your old passport. We're going to give you a new royal passport. And that will enable you, it will give you more privileges and powers. Is that what she meant? I was a prisoner in the palace. My curtsying lessons went on for days, nay, months. Okay, so that deals with that, the national anthem. Now, there are a lot of things in this documentary that Meghan will not like. One of the panel, who was really in her corner, referred to her as a B- celebrity. And trust me, man, you might think in the whole hour that that comment will go unnoticed. Believe me, Meghan will notice that. You are off the Christmas card list. In fact, you're probably on a hit list right now. He said she was a B- actress. I mean, the whole thing made me really glad, in fact, grateful and thankful that we have had YouTubers over the last few years, such as Murky Meg, according to Taz, and of course, Yankee Wally, who have scrutinised, who have analysed, who have documented, who have shown us photographs of things as they go along. And so a lot of us here that have been following the story from the beginning, and also the lovely Ashley, the late Ashley, we are aware. But to me, it seemed like this panel had come in on the back end of this, like they weren't really paying attention that much to the early stages of Meghan. And they've been hoodwinked a little bit, or maybe told that they have to, they go on about the letter. Thomas Markle Sr., the most evil father in the world. She wrote him this letter, which one of them said was soaked in love. Interestingly enough, it was the same gentleman who said she was a B- actress. Excuse me, I've got to cough again. I'm sorry, Nan. I'm sorry. I'm really resisting it. Right. So, yes, they said that she wrote this letter soaked in love to her father, Thomas, and that he sold it to the Daily Mail straight away, the racist British press. No, that's not what happened. Talk about having a massive, massive omission in the whole thing. She had 5 friends who spoke to People magazine, dissing Thomas and saying what a bastard he is. He's horrible, he's a terrible father, terrible, poor Meghan. Poor Thomas was under fire. He had a right old pylon of criticism. After some considerable time, as I recall, possibly as long as a couple of months of taking shit, having no security, no money, playing the bad guy, finally he said, well, I will get my side of the story across. I will not release the entire letter, but I will release some of the letter. Meghan didn't like that, and so she sued Associated Newspapers, and that court case went on for a couple of years. She said she had nothing to do with finding freedom, and eventually had to admit to the court that she had misremembered, whatever the hell that term means. She didn't forget, she didn't lie, she misremembered. Boy, I've heard of some ways of getting out of a perjury charge. That's a new one on me. So this letter was soaked in love, so they really painted Thomas bad. They constantly tried to make out it's a culture clash between us evil Brits and all the wonderful Americans. Don't do that, guys. Britain and America are not at each other's throats any more than the racism thing she goes on about. Stop trying to divide. It's called divide and rule. Don't do that. Loads of the subscribers here are American. Loads of viewers are American. Loads of viewers do not like or approve of the way Meghan lies and twists things and changes history. This is not a Brit-American thing. There's not a clash. And they went on and on and on about that because Americans have never heard of a curtsy. It's just so outrageous. Oh my God, you have to curtsy in Britain. We do it all the time. In fact, later on today, when I pop to the supermarket, Aldi and Lidl, I will be curtsying to the security guard at the door, and then I will, because I'm British, even though I'm in Spain, but this is what us Brits do, and I will curtsy to every other patron in the shop and every member of staff, and when I get to the checkout, I will curtsy again, and Graham will bow, and we will say, "Thank you, Your Majesty," because we're nutty Brits, and we curtsy, curtsy, curtsy all the time. Fuck off. Then they go on about the Tiara-gate. You know, Meghan didn't get the tiara that she wants. And the evil Queen of England even said to Meghan at one point, "We don't speak to people like that." Oh, naughty, naughty Queen Elizabeth II, expecting Meghan not to talk haughtily to people. But one of them actually said that when she went to go and choose a tiara, one of them actually said, and I wrote it down, quote, "The Queen has to sign off on this stuff." That's crazy. The tiaras belonged to the Queen. They're her property. They are national treasures. They are British property. So when Meghan walks in and goes, "I want that one," yes, she's being loaned that. That would apply if I invited some friend round and said, "Would you like to wear some of my jewellery?" It's my jewellery. It's up to me who I lend it to, if I lend it at all. If Meghan wanted a tiara of her own, buy your own for fuck's sake. You don't go, "Oh, well, the Queen of England has to sign off on the crown jewels. How fucking stupid is that?" Fuck off. I mean, I'm sorry for swearing. It was incredulous. But I was cheered up towards the end of it. Right. I mean, I've got Meghan's wish list here, according to these people. I actually wrote down, it's quite a short wish list, and it's not a big deal. Any girls out there, or men, getting married, who wouldn't want to wish that your dad shut the fuck up? Shut the fuck up, stay away, you're not invited. And the rest of the family as well. That's not a big deal, is it? Number one. Number two, I want whatever jewels I can have from the family I'm marrying into. That's not a biggie, is it? No. Just hand it over. Hand it over. Right now. You shut the fuck up and you give me all the jewels. I mean, it's just, you can tell it's really pissed me off. She wants to party and display inordinate wealth in front of people who are struggling to heat their homes and feed their families. And she doesn't see the problem with that. That's a racist, stupid British press making a thing. And basically she wants to be queen. That's what I believe. I think Harry was very much her second choice. And William was taken. Right, I've done the Marie Antoinette and let them eat cake. The royals weren't defending her. They just weren't saying anything. No, because that's a royal thing. Never complain, never explain. Just keep your head down and get on with it. The criticism that Camilla has had, that Sarah Ferguson has had, is unbelievable. But no, they were criticised because they didn't defend Meghan enough. They didn't do enough for her. Catherine wasn't allowed on the royal train. Meghan, straight away, got a ride on the royal train. I couldn't believe it at the time. I thought, how come? How come? Why is she getting preferential treatment? She got The Queen made, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, didn't the Queen make Harry the president of the Youth Commonwealth Trust and her the vice president? The Queen made her a VP of like 2.4 billion citizens or something. Or have I completely misunderstood that? The Queen let her go on the royal train with the Queen. That wasn't good enough. None of that's good. Isn't that good enough? Isn't that good enough? I'm amazed Meghan managed the train journey. I'm amazed she didn't kill herself on the way up to wherever it was they went. Was it Sheffield or somewhere? Because she might have to curtsy or sing the national anthem. It's so complicated. It's so complicated. It's worse than a happy birthday. I hope my sarcasm isn't shining through too much. Just peasant reporting from Peasantville on what I've just seen. yeah, the dramatic music and stuff. Now, when it came to the stepping down, the panel did say, well, they wanted 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And that, when they were told, no, they couldn't have that, and that the British taxpayer would not pay for their security while they are living in a foreign country, which is not Britain, again, starving peasants. You bastards, you won't pay for my security? Bastards, racist bastards. So taxpayers out there, you naughties, how mean can you be? I shall quote some of the references that were made about you British taxpayers. You're petty for not paying Harry and Meghan's. It's super petty. They were treated awful by you taxpayers, you naughty, horrible, meanie peasants. Get your pennies together. Bow and curtsy to the Queen Meghan and King Harry, and you damn well pay for them. And they wonder why they're not popular. How would the Americans feel about having to pay for their security? I think Donald Trump said, no, we're not doing that. Wasn't Canada going to have to pay for it? What's going on with them? Do they have any sense? Then the panel started to turn on them at this point. Right? At least some of the panel. Saying, hang on a minute. This security that Britain pays for the royal family, isn't that the taxpayers who pay for it? So they were sticking up for you. Some of the panel were actually sticking up for you guys. And then other members of the panel went, actually, yeah, that's really bad, because didn't Princess Diana leave him like $33 million? And he needs the British taxpayers to pay for his security? And is he going to ask us to pay for his? So it really started to turn on them. Archie and his skin colour and the racism allegation, of course, reared its head. They didn't want to go into the bullying, Valentine Lowe, but I'll come to that in a minute. Excuse me. Sorry, Nan. Basically, they showed snippets of the Oprah interview of Meghan saying that there'd been many conversations about Archie's skin colour and he wasn't going to get security and he wasn't going to get a title. And then they showed the clip of Harry coming in and saying it was just one conversation, I don't want to talk about it, and it was before we even got engaged. So the panel then are like, and one or two of them started to point that out. And a couple of the really super supportive Meghans were like, no, stop talking about that, don't talk about that. They didn't like that. But then more and more of the panel members came around to the idea, said that he felt she was duplicitous, disingenuous, and super fake by saying all that and throwing shade on the whole royal family rather than naming specifics. And he was really quite strong on this point. And a few other panel members tried to fight him, but they were on a back foot. They could see that. Then other panel members who had been defending them, including the guy who called her the B- actress. I actually love that guy for saying that, because I know that will enrage her beyond anything. The B- actress who no one had ever heard of before she got engaged to Prince Harry. And also the same guy who said that letter was soaked in love. He said, well, that whole Oprah interview started to feel like pot shots, feels whiny, spilling their guts. And then another panel member went, yeah, on Oprah no less. So it has not been lost, even on this sort of wokey-cokey crowd, what's going on here. And then they're like, one of the women who had really been supporting them said, what I don't get is they've got to upgrade from their 16-bathroom, $14 million mansion. I mean, what? And she was viciously edited off, so I don't know what she was going to continue to say. Then they got some guy who they'd interviewed, who was not in the panel. They just sort of cut to him, a gap filler, who said, I think they're hugely successful. They're the new Obamas. They're the new Obamas. The beloved Barack and Michelle. I know a lot of you don't like the Obamas for political reasons, but if you put the politics aside and just look at them as human beings, I love the Obamas. Harry and Meghan are the new Obamas. Oh, there was another point when they said Meghan was bigger than Angelina Jolie. Okay? And they're going to be billionaires, hugely successful billionaires. Also, towards the end of this documentary, quite a few of the panel members said, we think that they had this planned all along, that the intention was always to leave the British royal family. We think they had the Netflix deal lined up. We think they had the Spotify deal lined up years before Megxit. And yes, they did use that horribly sexist term, Megxit. So, that is my take, more or less. I think oh yeah, at one point they said, thank God Tyler Perry footed the bill for their security. I think that was the point that one of the panel members in particular turned on them, and he said, come on, you've left the royal family. Why? Oh yeah, there is another bit that I'd forgotten about. And he said, if you're going to be American, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. Get on with it. You're rich. You can pay for your own security. What's the problem? So it was turning really quite bitchy. And then they finally ended it on how much they loved King Charles's first speech as king, and they showed a clip of him saying, I wish Harry and Meghan, no titles, no mention of Duke and Duchess of Sussex, I wish Harry and Meghan a great success in building their life in America. And they showed that clip, and they loved that. The whole panel loved that. And then they said, so why do her kids need titles? They've left the royal family. Because one person had said, he needs to do the right thing and make them prince and princess, Lily and Archie. But almost all the other panel members were like, no, they're in America. They're embracing the American way. We don't do royalty. Why do those kids need titles? They don't need titles. That was a big thing at the end of it. And there was another thing that they said at the end, which I've got to find my notes. One of them said they shouldn't criticise the royal family because they are not in it anymore. Several times they made the point, they've left, and one phrase kept cropping up, they don't have a dog in the fight, so they should mind their business and leave the royal family to do the royal family thing, and Harry and Meghan should just get on. So I think, all in all, because in these documentaries, if you can stomach going all the way through them, the big points are usually right at the end. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think. Have you watched it? I have put a link to the particular video in my community post. It's not going to be there for long, apparently. Be deleted after about 24 hours. So you've got about another 12 hours to go watch it. And let me know what you think. But that was my summing up. That basically they think Harry and Meghan are a couple of knobheads. Same as the rest of us peasants. As always, thoughts, opinions below.